Welcome into episode 24 of the PrintFest DFS podcast. My name is Justin Rue alongside Scott Bandy, and we're going to be breaking down the week 17 lineup that we played on Draftkings. So this lineup just totally smashed, scored 187 and a half. The line to cash and double ups sat around 172. So this one got triple ups, it got all that. And so it's just a total smash on this lineup. And yeah, I feel really solid about the process. Overall, we're starting to get even here on Derrick Henry, who is just like buried us over the last couple of weeks, but finally we're starting to get even on him. He put up 39 points, and he was a chalkiest running back on the slate. But I mean, it feels good to start to get even on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, for once, we didn't fade him when he smashed, and we didn't play him when he, crapped his pants. So that feels nice. A little print fest to end, the regular season. So it's definitely been up and down, but stick to the process, and we're printing. So yeah, it was another solid week. We probably have, I would think one more week of cash games, with the 6 game slate coming up this weekend. But after that, we're talking about a 4 game slate. So I don't really think. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will be out there playing cash games, but there's going to be too many dupes for me. So
Yeah, playing cash games on a 4 game slate, that just sounds like God, this just sounds like hell. Um, but yeah, we'll definitely be back on Friday to break down the 6 game wild card weekend slate. That should be fun. So starting with this lineup, we had the highest scoring quarterback on the main slate with Kirk Cousins, and he put up 37.3. And God, I mean, they had over 400 passing yards, had 3 tutties, and he even had a rushing touchdown on a QB sneak at the goal line. So at 6,300, we knew that the motivation for the Vikings was not going to be there, but I mean, it wasn't there for Detroit either. And this game in the dome I thought was going to be a shootout once we knew that Matt Stafford was going to play. So, um, yeah, I mean, he was the chalkiest quarterback on the slate, and rightfully so. I mean, it was a total smash, Kirk Cousins.
yeah, dude, for me this week it was really just Kirk Cousins, Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers. And I mean, with Kirk Cousins being 6,300, he was 1,700 cheaper than Lamar. Um, what about 1,100 cheaper than Aaron Rodgers? So, and Cousins has been really, really solid this year, week in, week out. I mean, he's been putting up 20 points left and right. So at 6,300, I really I wanted to play Rodgers and Lamar, but I didn't need to. I felt like I was going to get the same thing from Cousins that I got from either one of them. Man, I don't. I would assume this is his best game of the year. I haven't checked, but yeah, he just totally smashed. Not quite a windmill because of his ownership, but yeah, I mean, the only the only real concern I had here with Cousins is, you know, Mike Zimmer does what Mike Zimmer wants to do. He just pounds the rock all day with Alexander Madison, but that didn't happen. So yeah, a great spot for Cousins, and it paid off.
Yeah, and I think without Dalvin Cook being out there, I think that they just kind of lean towards the pass even more. So with Stafford playing and with Dalvin being out, I thought that just made Cousins extremely strong at a middling price of 6,300. So moving over to running back, we mentioned at the top that we're getting unstuck on Derrick Henry. So I mentioned on the Friday pod that Derrick Henry just in spots like this, taking on a Houston defense that is the worst run defense in the NFL. They allow 5.4 yards per attempt against them. And Derrick Henry in spots where they have a massive total, their implied total was 31, I believe. They end up scoring 41. This is a total shootout. And Derrick Henry, we knew that he needed 223 yards to get to 2,000. We knew, I don't know. I don't know if they were really trying to get him there, but I think that once he had like a buck 50 in the first half, they were just going to keep jamming it to him. He ended up having over 30 attempts in this game, and man, 39 points is just yeah. If you faded Derrick Henry in this spot here, yeah, that was probably wrong.
Yeah, 67% owned. Like if you didn't have him, you donated to the good people at Draftkings this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just the worst run defense that I think I've ever seen. Like Houston got absolutely pummeled last week by Gio Bernard and Samaje Perine. Like they let them put up like 150 yards. So like, what did you think the King was going to do in a must-win game for Tennessee to wrap that division up? And he needed, a very gettable 223 yards to get to 2,000. And yeah, at halftime when he had like 150, you knew Mike Vrabel said, "Fuck everything else, we're getting there."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we were looking for from him. Uh, I mean, no, we didn't expect 250 yards, but I mean, holy shit! Like our running backs, we got over 600 yards combined from the three of them. Like wow. But yeah, if you didn't play Derrick Henry, especially with Alvin Kamara being ruled out and not having him at that same price point, that just inflated Henry's ownership even more. So if you didn't play him, I mean, you're just dead. Like you just straight up lost money.
Yeah. So the second running back we played that we paid up for is Jonathan Taylor, and he's really been coming on the last 5 or so weeks. His missed tackles per attempt have been skyrocketing the last couple weeks compared to early on in the season. So I think he's really starting to figure it out. We know he was an elite prospect coming out of Wisconsin, and of course in a must-win game, at home against a putrid Jacksonville defense that just wants to move on and get Trevor Lawrence. I mean, yeah, he ran for 253 yards and had two tutties and scored 41.4. Just a total smash. But I think that playing running backs in spots like this where it's a must-win game, a lot of times their snap rates really get jacked up higher, and teams like to lean on their best players in must-win games. And Jonathan Taylor's snap rate got up over 80% for the first time all year. So I think they're going to continue featuring him moving forward in the playoffs. And the cat's out of the bag with Jonathan Taylor. He's a total stud.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Frank Reich keeps us up with JT next year because he's probably going to be locked in as a top 5 pick in fantasy. But regardless, once the Kamara news and the Saints running backs were all ruled out and we got Tymont, running back became very, very straightforward. It was just Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Tymont, and I don't think either one of us really thought about going elsewhere after that news hit. Like it just became very set in stone. So another terrible run defense in Jacksonville. We knew that the Colts had to win the game. Philip Rivers, you're not going to lean on him, but the fact that it was his last game ever, it adds to the motivation of the Colts. Had they lost this game, it would have been his last game. So yeah, and Jonathan Taylor's just been smashing week in week out. Jordan Wilkins phased himself out through poor play. Naheem Hines is still getting jammed at the middle a few times every week, which is, I mean, we got to get rid of that. But yeah, another 250 yards again from Jonathan Taylor. Like, man, oh man, he just completely smashed. I mean, we were winning money before he hit that last touchdown at the end of the game, and then it was just pants off at that point. So yeah, JT is just a total stud.
Yeah. And the last running back, we completely punted it off with Ty Montgomery. So we were planning on playing Latavius Murray, when Alvin Kamara tested positive for COVID. And then the entire running back room, they all were close contacts, so none of them could play. So that just left Ty Montgomery and Tony Jones, their practice squad running back. And we know Ty Montgomery is actually a decent sized player. And we know he's like mainly a wide receiver, but he did play running back for a year there in Green Bay, and he had a couple games where he had like 15 or 20 carries. So we know he can carry the load if he needs to. And then taking on this Carolina defense that's basically middle of the road to below average against the run, and at 4K, with him being that like the wide receiver background, we know he would have a pass catching floor, which I thought was pretty bankable, but he only having one reception. He really leaned on the run. He had he ended up getting to the bonus in the rushing department, rushing for 105 yards. So, yeah, I mean, at 4K, score 14.7, that was certainly nice.
Yeah, I mean, timeout. Going back to his days in Green Bay, we saw that he had a pretty good stretch there where he was a very productive player. He definitely did more on the ground than I think anyone expected him to, and only one reception. Like pretty much opposite of what we thought was going to happen. Taysom was involved. He cocked a touchdown, but he still got there with timeout. 14.7 at 4K. I mean, can never be mad about that. So yeah, like I said, running back was very, very easy this week after the Kamara news. So I guess the only thing else to add is
I'm having trouble. Please try it in a little while.
damn Alexa just went off. The only other thing to add here is that if you play Ty Johnson, you're a total fish. Like if you play a Jets running back in any situation, you're a total fish. He lost his job during the game. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and Ty Johnson was like 20% owned or so. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Playing a Jets running back is just, or a Jets player in general with Adam Gase there is just dumb. And Adam Gase is gone now, so maybe we can look to him next year. But God, I mean, I just can't imagine playing a Jet in 2020. So moving over to wide receiver, we just continue to jam Devontae Adams and he ended up scoring 16.6. He ended up getting the box like he always does. He kind of underwhelmed here. Um, I would have probably projected him for probably 23 or so points here, but he was the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. You take it on Chicago, it's basically like a middling matchup, but Green Bay scored 35 points and Devontae Adams only scored 16. So I think we ran kind of bad here with Devontae. The Bears had the ball for much longer than Green Bay did in this game. Time possession wise, I think it ended up being swaying way further in favor of Chicago in this spot, even though Green Bay blew the doors off them and beat them 35-16. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of lower volume passing game for Green Bay. So that kind of dinged Devontae's volume, but I'd never feel bad about playing Devontae Adams in cash.
Yeah, the one thing that you're probably going to get with Adams is a touchdown. We did get that to help, easing the poor game. But yeah, in his last 22 games, he has 25 touchdowns now. That's just ludicrous. Like this is his floor, like 6 for 46 and 1. 16-point outing. If that's your floor from a receiver, like you're not going to find anything better than that really at any position. So yeah, bad game. The game, the time possession was just so lopsided. When he had one or two catches at half, it really wasn't looking good. And then the Bears seemed like they had the ball for the entire third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But then he always just seems to get there. He had 5 receptions I think in the fourth quarter alone. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. His ownership definitely helped. Definitely helped the poor game since about half the field had him. It didn't really hit us too bad, and then of course we'll get there. But Laviska going off, I mean, that just kind of solidified that we were making money.
Yeah, I mean Laviska. So at 4,200 with DJ Chark out, taking on Indy, where we knew Jacksonville would be just getting their faces smacked in. I thought that Laviska at 4,200 was really, really strong. We know he was a good prospect coming out of Colorado. He's a second round pick, and he's really starting to come on now in the last few weeks. And he ended up getting in the box twice, scoring 24.6, and he ended up going 6 for 68 and 2. So, I like Chenault as a player. I thought that 4,200 was just too cheap with DJ Chark out, even though there's not much motivation for Jacksonville and Mike Glennon's at quarterback. I just think that, talent and volume, you just kind of jam that in with the 4,200 price tag.
Yeah, we certainly ran a little bit hot with 2 touchdowns here, but we're not going to complain. Yeah, Laviska is just a really good talent. And he stayed cheap all year, even though, I mean, he's had, some up and down games, but, with no DJ Chark and no Colin Johnson, that really just solidified his role as the number one. Liked Chris Conley too, but you're not as sure what you're getting there. I'm really excited for Laviska going into next year to see if the new coach comes in, whether it's Urban Meyer or someone else, to see if they start using him and that kind of satellite back role that he was using in college. Like he was used really as a playmaker, not just as a receiver, but he was getting legit work out of the backfield because of his athleticism. Man, if they start giving him that, kind of like the Niners do with Debo going into next year, it's going to be really solid. But yeah, Debo 4,200. I was between him and Judy all week. Ended up just going with Lavisca because no Chark, no Colin Johnson locked in, and I don't trust Drew Lock. That I never trust Drew Lock. He got 15 targets last week. Judy did, and I think he got like 5 of them because Drew Lock is so horrible. So yeah, Lavisca is really strong.
Yeah. And then we decided to punt off the wide receiver 3 position to really get up to Adams, Henry, and Jonathan Taylor. And we used that salary, 3,200 for Josh Reynolds. And so Cooper Kupp was on the COVID list, and Josh Reynolds basically is a full-time player at 3,200. Yeah, it has John Walford at quarterback, so it's kind of limits the ceiling of Josh Reynolds. But, at 3,200, I don't know. I mean, there's just like all of these like min-price guys like Chris Conley and, Keyshawn Johnson, Andy Isabella. There's a bunch of these min-price guys that you could have gone with. So we just end up going with Josh Reynolds. And, I don't feel bad about it. You don't feel great about it either, but it just kind of made the rest of the lineup work.
Yeah, we at least knew that the motivation was going to be there for the Rams. They needed to win to get into the playoffs, and it was a division game. They ended up beating Arizona to keep them out of the playoffs. So that's just extra motivation. And on top of that, there was no Cooper Kupp with him being on the COVID list. So Reynolds was going to kind of just slot into that number 2 target role in that offense. So, and despite the fact that he just went 4 for 29, 6.9 points, technically that's not value, but with the rest of our lineup just hitting the way it didn't hurt that bad. I thought Reynolds was the best option down there at that price range. Maybe I would have played Chris Conley if I wasn't on Chenault. But Reynolds I thought was a much better play than Isabella or Keyshawn or Denzel Mims, like those kind of guys. So process wise, I'm fine with it. It didn't hit this week.
Yeah. And then at tight end, we always talk about punting off tight end, and this week there was no Kelsey on the slate, and with him sitting out, and Waller was up there, but Waller is 7,100, so I mean he's getting kind of expensive, and Mark Andrews is up there, but maybe this was a mistake to play Irv. Irv has been pretty solid the last couple of weeks, and he was a stack with Kirk Cousins with no Kyle Rudolph in there, and he'll end up going 2 for 30. And, maybe we should have punted off with, Tyler Conklin or with Cole Kmet or something like that. And, we're always a proponent of punting off tight end. And we didn't do it this week. And maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Parham ended up having a ton of ownership, which I don't know if either one of us expected that. We considered him for, a couple seconds, but the stack with Cousins made Irv nice. No Rudolph again. We thought this game was going to be high scoring with Stafford playing. Yeah, like I thought about Cole Kmet, but the thing is, there was just so many guys that were priced so barely ahead of those min price guys. Like Irv Smith was 3,900, Evan Ingram was 3,700. You had Hayden Hurst down there. So it just felt wrong to me to go down there when you get something that's more locked in role wise just by paying up a little bit. Maybe it was a mistake. 3,900 is probably too expensive for Irv Smith, considering what we've seen from him this year. But I know I was only really going to play him or Evan Ingram, and Irv actually outproduced Evan Ingram somehow, even though he only hit with 5 points. But yeah, I mean, tight end's just so hard to trust. Like, we're never going to pay up. It's pretty much exclusively going to be 4K and under. And a lot of weeks we do aim to go, 3K or below. So, yeah, I mean, it's tight end. Like, they all suck. So it's not. I'm not too mad at myself about this one.
Yeah, I mean, at least we got the stack in there, and if Irv catches a touchdown, we're sitting there excited, and if he doesn't catch a touchdown, we're basically dead. I mean, this is kind of the way tight end goes. Pretty much, they're all kind of touchdown or bust. So, Moving over to defense, I thought the Jets were really strong at 2,300. They were, 300 above the minimum, and they were taking on Cam Newton, who's just been absolutely atrocious this year for the Patriots. And I thought they were going to totally smash. But of course, Cam has like his best game of his season. Um, so, I mean, is what it is. There, I thought at 2,300, I would play the Jets all over again against just a trash Patriots offense.
Yeah, I feel like 8 out of 10 times in this spot, New England doesn't score 28. Like they had just been really bad. That's another 2v2 that I was on. It was either the Jets at 2,300 or the Browns at 2,500, and the Jets obviously just made this line of construction fit. I preferred the Browns in a vacuum, but the Jets, I had no problem just slotting them in. Like I think we actually ran cold here. Cam went off like out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
I actually liked the Jets to cover the +3. I thought the Jets were going to end up winning this game. I had it all in my head. The Jets are going to end up winning again. Gase is going to keep his job. They're going to say, "Oh, Sam Sam Darnold's our guy, and we're just going to roll into 2021 doing the same crap all over again." That's really what I thought was going to happen. But yeah, Jets D at 2,300. Like the Jets D hasn't even been that bad either. And now I think the Patriots are like a bottom 5 offense. So um, yeah, and 15% ownership. I think they were the second highest owned on the slate behind the Browns. Um, so, but again, it's defense. Like there's so much variance. Like there's no point in paying up. So 2,300, I would play them all over again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always down to punt off defense, punt off tight end. Those positions are just so volatile and very rarely even score more than like 5 points for your defense. So, I mean, it is what it is. Might as well just punt it off if the defense is going to score like 5 points or less. So, overall, other than Irv Smith, I actually feel pretty solid about our process here. And clearly, the results were totally, over what we expected. But when you play guys like Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, and these guys have ceilings like that to just absolutely truck teams for 250 plus yards in any given outing. So, I feel good about the decisions that we made on this slate, and we certainly profited on it. So, really a solid week. So, with that, we're going to be back on Friday night breaking down our favorite plays on the week or on the wild card weekend, 6-game main slate that includes a Saturday and Sunday triple headers on both. So that should be fun. There's some really solid matchups there, and um, we'll be back on Friday night to break that down. So with that, that's going to do it for episode 24 of the PrintFest DFS podcast. Until then, good luck, everybody.